Hey folks, welcome back to Nerdcast. Been a long time with a new co-host today, Dominic. Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So you're an old school '90s edgelord, okay? I can just tell that by the Chaos Magician tattoo you got on your hand, your shoulder there. You want to explain what the '90s was like, being a D&D nerd or being like into World of Darkness? What was it like back then versus where it is now, role-playing games?
Oof. Back then, well, it was a lot less acceptable in the overculture.
Yeah.
I was never in a position where I was hounded for it.
Right.
But that did happen.
Yeah.
It was also because the 90s in general were a lot more homophobic and misogynistic and everything else. So, a lot less enlightened, you could say.
But it was a golden age to be a freak. It was a golden age to be a freak.
It was. But yeah, you could. Ooh, how do I want to say this? You could get away with a lot more, and a lot more that we probably shouldn't have gotten away with.
Agreed.
Let's see. What else about the 90s? One thing about the 90s, it was a lot less options.
Yeah.
You had your D&D. You had Shadowpunk, or not...
Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk, yeah. And you had the World of Darkness, and that was about it.
So, describe World of Darkness and how it's different than like D&D, and why people should consider getting into it.
World of Darkness is it's a lot more gothic. It's very centered around like vampires and werewolves and these kind of urban monsters. It's a modern setting, and it's a little bit more focused on storytelling than D&D is.
Yeah.
But it still has your combat rules and your dice rolling.
Yeah.
If you love rolling big fistfuls of dice, if that's exciting, World of Darkness is your place.
Yeah.
Because everything you do, you add a die for as you get more skilled in things. So you end up with these giant handfuls of dice.
I mean, for me, World of Darkness is just Magicians, X-Files, and Supernatural turned into a role-playing game. That's why I love it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Minus the aliens, but...
Yeah. I really like the lore for World of Darkness. The apocalypse, how the Abrahamic God is just sort of like a dick.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with the demon lore, the demon campaign book.
I'm more familiar with the vampire side of it.
Yeah.
And the whole kind of blood rituals and the diffused blood of a god throughout the different vampires and the clans.
Yeah, and it ended on such a the original setting I heard ended on such a massive like end times like cliffhanger, like their own version of the apocalypse.
From what I remember, it sort of did because they introduced hunters.
Yeah.
Which were humans that had magical powers to hunt vampires.
Yeah.
And then something happened with the blood. I can't remember what. That just kind of broke everything.
Right.
Gosh, I can't for the life of me remember how the rest of it ended now.
I mean, Hunter x Hunter is just like, that's supernatural and role-playing form. That sounds awesome, you know? I mean, my favorite game from World of Darkness, I played a campaign right before the pandemic. I was that guy, okay? It was an MMORPG, think like SAO, but in like Vampire the Masquerade. Vampires were running it. I was trying to join all the different guilds and factions. I wound up getting kicked out of all of them. I befriended the best PvPer in the MMO and saved the entire party from a raid from a dungeon full of demons. And there's a hidden joke in there I'm not going to relate, but yeah, I saved the day through less savory means.
Well, that's one of the great things about role-playing games is you can pretty much save the day however you want.
Yeah. Yeah, what's your favorite what's your favorite D&D supplement? Like what's your favorite D&D game?
So I always played just the core D&D rules and we just kind of homebrewed our own setting.
Yeah.
We never stuck super hard to any supplements or books or anything. And honestly, that's one of the things that got me into writing later on.
Yeah.
So personally, that's my preference. Although I am a firm believer of if it works for you, do it.
I think the whole point of role-playing games, the D&D, the dice, the mathematics should. This is how I play. I just play for role playing and fun. Most of my games are military battles.
Sure.
And I have like my players roll a d20 to see how their army does, how my army does, and that's just how I do things. I'm more heavily focused on role playing. I think the rules only exist for people that have fun. I think even the Prime book says you can throw these out as long as you're having fun. That's all that matters. I think I've heard that somewhere.
That is in some. I can't remember where exactly in the book, but in the book it is there. It is called the Golden Rule, and the Golden Rule is do whatever works for having fun. So they encourage you. I don't think I've played a role-playing game that doesn't do this, but they encourage you to throw out what you need to throw out, modify what you need to modify, do house rules, whatever works for you and your group.
Yeah. I've really been getting into Cyberpunk recently, the RPG. More debaucherous adventures in the world of Cyberpunk. And once again, I wish I could say this stuff, but I'm on family hour here. It got really nasty. It got really weird. And some of the funnest experiences I've had in role playing games are games like World of Darkness and Cyberpunk. Just the funniest stuff that has ever happened to me in a nerdy way has happened in a role playing game. You know, and I love that. What's your take?
Like role playing games are you have a made up setting and a made up system, and you're making up stories, and you end up with real memories. Yeah. You know, and some of my best adventures have been sitting around a table with friends where we didn't stand up once, but we all had a great adventure. We can all relate. We all come out of it with a real story.
Yeah. It's imagination is magic. Imagination is magic. Let's face it. I mean, it's what separates us from like robots, AI, and lower functioning animals. You know, imagination is a divinely human thing, in my opinion. So have you ever run your own games? How do you run your own games? What kind of stories do you tell with your role-playing games?
I try and let my characters decide the story for the most part. Yeah. I'll set up an antagonist, and I'll kind of decide what they're going to do and more or less how they're going to do it in a broad sense. And then we'll let it unfold from there. I view role-playing games as a group storytelling exercise. Group astral projection. Yeah. Basically.
I got that from a Freemason YouTuber. It's hilarious. No, I mean, my favorite game... Are you familiar with the people that founded World of Darkness were pagans? They're neo-pagans.
I did not know that, no.
Well, the guy who wrote the magic system for Mage the Ascension, if you're familiar with that, which is, short story short, you're so woke, you can bend reality. Yeah. Not even reality exists anymore. You're that woke. He even talked about that on a podcast. The guy who made Mage the Ascension and was one of the co-founders of White Wolf was a neo-pagan. Okay. The guy studied metaphysics, chaos magic. People say he was the best game designer since Gary Gygax, honestly, is what a lot of people say.
I mean, I would... I don't know about the best. There's a lot to choose from, but he was definitely up there. Like he'll go down in history.
Yeah, no, I mean, is World of Darkness still popular in your opinion, or is it more niche?
I think it's still up there. Now that there's so many games to choose from, it doesn't have quite the market it used to. Yeah. But I don't think anything does. It's become a more diverse hobby. Yeah. And in doing so, even D&D is not as big as it used to be. It's more well known, but their sales are pretty steady if you look at the fiscal side of things.
So do you think Critical Role and Critical Role destroyed D&D?
No. I think that...
A lot of people say that.
I think Critical Role and things like it, they presented D&D in a much more digestible way to people who had no exposure to RPGs before.
Yeah, and then you get a lot of alt-right guys who go on the internet and they complain about how D&D is losing its soul, how the corporation is selling out the core D&D essence to make it more palatable to everyone. Mm-hmm. I think that's just a terrible argument. Shouldn't the whole point of this game everyone can play it? The gatekeeping the role-playing communities is something that's really touchy online right now.
Yeah, so I mean, there's always going to be gatekeeping, no matter where you're at, what you're doing. And personally, I think the sort of people who are they're selling out the essence of D&D. They're usually complaining about kind of old rule sets. Yeah. And if you want to play those old rule sets, go play those old rule sets. Nobody's stopping you. Those books still exist. But if I think the essence of D&D lies in the activity, not in the rules.
Yeah, I mean, I love what I love most about D&D. Everything's a multiverse. Everything is like part of this massive magical multiverse. I love that. I mean, I love like the astral sea, the world building. Have you read Driz by any chance? Have you read the book?
I'm familiar with them. I haven't read them.
Amazing books, great stuff.
Yeah.
Dragonlance for the win, though. Okay, that was actually written by a Wisconsin family. As they were like, this is back when D&D was first starting off.
Yeah.
And they drove all the way from like California, Wisconsin, and came up with the first D&D world on their own during the car ride. And Dragonlance got me into D&D, honestly.
Yeah, I can definitely see why. It's very much in that, what's it called, the Greyhawk?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much in that theme, in that style. That, very classic high fantasy.
Dragon War.
Yeah.
I mean, how metal is that, honestly? But no, I mean, like, where do you see TRP? So, do you recommend... You've told me before you're a fan of, like, role-playing streams, TRPG streams. Do you think there's a market for that still, and where do you see that going?
Ooh, when you say, do I think there's a market, do you mean... Could one of us just start streaming and pick up enough viewers to make it financially viable?
Sure.
And then maybe, but kind of not. I think that's one of those things. It's going to be like...
It's going to be a niche.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of like becoming the next biggest pop singer, right? You have a million people trying to do it, and only one or two are going to be capable. There's only room for one or two.
Yeah, Critical Role and High Rollers. Have you seen High Rollers?
I've heard of them before. I haven't seen them yet.
They're a British version of Critical Role.
Yeah.
Continue.
So yeah, there's this handful of people, Critical Role, High Rollers, Dimension 20, that they're doing all the heavy lifting. They're the ones making the money, and then there's hundreds of streamers out there who are putting their stuff on YouTube or on Twitch or just on a website. And they're doing it for the fun of it, and they're not making anything. They've got no sponsors. There's no studio backing them.
Yeah. It's kind of like machinima for my generation, if you're familiar with that. Video game movies from the early 2000s. That's the zeitgeist of nerdy media on YouTube nowadays.
Yeah, and it would be similar to that. Yeah, it's or like for my generation, we used to make home movies in our backyard with a handheld camera. And some of those were really good, and some of those were really terrible, and they were all really fun. And I highly, if you want to go out and make a role-playing stream, do it. Please. It's art. Create art, always. But don't do it for the money. Because not only will that diminish the art, but it will also leave you disappointed.
I mean, art should not be. I hate when capitalism and art mixes together. I absolutely despise it. But then again, the only way to make any money nowadays is sell everything you have, even if it's something you're passionate about, concerning the effed up market we have nowadays.
We live in a capitalistic society, and you need money to survive. That's just the way it is.
Why can't we live in the world of Federation? Why can't we live in the world of Federation?
Just start the Bell riots. We're a couple years behind, but
so getting back on track, who is your favorite streamer when it comes to TRPG streams? Who would you recommend to people getting into this?
I love Dimension 20. Brendan Lee Mulligan is so much fun. Not only as a streamer, but also as a person. And he is also going to be doing the next season of Critical Role as well.
Nice.
There is a paywall for Dimension 20, I will admit, and so it's not accessible to everybody. But honestly, it's one of those things. Find the person that really sings to you.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love Critical Role, the good stuff is like the niche stuff. The good stuff is like the niche, small channel content. My favorite streams to watch is Descent into Avernus.
Oh, I don't know that one.
It's Blood War, so it's D&D, and it's Blood War, the war between demons and devils. And you and your party descend literally into the Nine Hells and fight in a war between demons and devils against Dante's Inferno to the extreme, Mad Max. You literally can ride on these like Mad Max vehicles in hell, battling other demons on these Mad Max vehicles, okay?
I see why you like that. That sounds like a good time. lately I've been also liking Porchlight Productions, or not
Okay.
Porchlight, Ghostlight Productions. Yeah, they do World of Darkness stuff.
Yeah, there was this one series back in the early 2010s. I mean, I love Felicia Day, by the way. Felicia Day.
Yeah.
You want to get into Felicia Day and maybe describe her content and how important she is to nerdy media? Go ahead.
So Felicia Day. I became aware of Felicia Day in the early 10s, and she's basically an online actress and streamer and general nerdy connoisseur. Who was able to get big enough online to get on actual TV shows.
Supernatural,
magicians, but kept her online presence and kept really faithful to the fans, in my opinion.
And she built the nerdy empire that is Geek and Sundry and modern day D&D streaming. She built that.
Yep, she was a big part of that, and she also did that in part because of the first round of writer strikes that were happening at that time.
Yeah,
She was one of several different pilot projects to prove that the writers don't need the production companies. That's the other way around.
Okay, writers Marxist revolution all the way. So I guess as the second half of this podcast is going on, I want to ask, where do you think people should start looking for to get into TRPGs? What are steps they should take, and how should they create their vision?
Oh, wow. So if you're feeling bold, just walk into a game store. Here in Madison, we've got Pegasus Games and, I can't remember the name, the one that looks like a castle.
Oh, White Knight?
Yeah, White Knight Games. And I think they're actually...
Noble Knight. Why
That's
I say
the
White
one.
Knight? Why I say White Knight? Noble Knight.
But yeah, and I think they're actually a national chain. So if you can find something like that wherever you're at, just walk in. You usually have scheduled games that people can either sign up for or drop in on. And the gaming community is super friendly these days.
Oh, yeah.
If people who are running those games or playing in those games, they're looking for new players. They want to teach you.
I know a few D&D personalities here in Madison. There's I've actually gotten business advice from a professional D&D podcaster here in Madison.
Yeah.
Gave me some solidly good advice. And a lot of the D&D artists and content creators, especially in cities like Madison, are also activists, which is also great. Do you have any experience with that?
Oh yeah, there's a huge crossover. It's TTRPGs are all about bringing everyone in and sharing everyone's story and making this egalitarian sort of artificial world.
Where you rise to the ranks based on your own courage and your own wit.
Right, yeah. And often there are themes of revolution in these stories because most stories have themes of revolution. So there's a huge crossover, and it's natural, I think, for people to bring that into their real lives as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, RPGs give us hope. They're the modern-day monomyth. I think the D&D market is the best example of the modern-day monomyth in action.
Yeah.
More so than any media that I've ever witnessed. I think D&D is the modern-day monomyth creator. What's your take on that?
I think it's definitely kind of infiltrated the zeitgeist, hasn't it? This, and everyone's got this picture of when they think of a fantasy adventurer, they think of, the hero with the sword and probably a group of companions. There's often that kind of chosen one aspect to it. Yeah. And usually going against the status quo, going against
Mordor, going against the Empire, going against
it's always a kingdom or an empire or something, isn't it?
Enter your Final Fantasy Empire name.
Right.
No, I mean, D&D has inspired me to be empathetic and not like a noble knight, but a wise mystic that heals people and talks to people and my archetype is the Doctor, okay? Matt Smith Doctor with emo edgelord vibes going for him. I'm literally my own persona, both in my own inner life and my outer life I try and profess, is a Matt Smith, David Tennant Doctor Who is also an edgelord and emo as heck and wanders around with a magical, demon in his magical box, okay? That's how I roleplay as,
Yeah. And that's, I think a lot of people say that when you are playing a character or writing a character or anything of that nature, what you're doing is showing a side of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You're emphasizing a bit of you into this other person.
I mean, role-playing games are amazing for people coming out of the closet. They're amazing games for people to accept themselves for being LGBT. I mean, I think you can... You want to go on with that?
Oh, totally. I used that myself. So if the listeners don't know, I use they, them pronouns. And so, yeah, the first place I ever used they, them pronouns was a kobold.
Okay.
And I came up with the whole backstory. My DM that I was working with was very open to letting us kind of build the world.
Yeah.
So I came up with this whole backstory about how kobolds, because they don't have any secondary sexual characteristics, that they didn't have gender. That all kobolds were they, thems.
Okay, so like hermaphroditic sort of lizard people?
Not fully hermaphroditic, not in my conceptualization anyway. It could be.
I'm not trying to be rude. And
no,
this
yeah.
isn't a term I've gotten from science. You know?
That would be the correct scientific term.
Yeah, but you're saying?
But yeah, no, they had, like, there was male and female kobolds, but they didn't show it externally at all, so they didn't have any...
So there was no culture.
There was no, yes, exactly.
There was no culture around gender. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually anthropologically valid. There's cultures in the real world who don't have the whole male and female gender thing going on.
Certainly not as split as modern America, anyway.
Or Western world, yeah. No, I mean, I think D&D is an excellent way for people on the spectrum to find friends, to accept who they are. Okay?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think D&D is one of those therapeutic things for people who are on the spectrum, for people who are... queer, for people that are gender non-conforming, for people who have been hurt by religion or toxic bullying. I think role-playing games are the best way to bring the outer into the inner. I mean, the inner into the outer is what I would say. What would you take?
It's a great way to try something on. So if you're feeling like maybe you're a certain way and you want to give it a shot, it's a very safe space to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you give it a shot and you don't like it, you can always say, well, it was just the character. That was just the character I was playing, and it's nothing more than that. And if you give it a shot and it's not received well, again, that was just the character I was playing. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. But it also provides a framework especially for people on the spectrum, but for anybody who feels like they need a sort of guide. It's set up. This is how you have a social situation in this game. There are rules for it. So it can be very helpful in that way.
Yeah, so no, that makes sense. So I guess the last topic I want to talk about, where can people get into this whole... Like, I know people are pretty well aware to find D&D, but where can people find, like, the real niche stuff, like World of Darkness, Cyberpunk? Yeah,
so you'll find those hanging around the edges of anywhere that you find D&D. There's most role-playing websites that hook up people, players and GMs. A lot of those will also have, a variety of other games.
Right.
Most of the games websites, if you already know a game...
Drive-Thru RPG.
Drive-Thru RPG is a great one.
Which you can make money off that.
You can.
I hate capitalism. Make your own business. Come on. That's one of the few things that they used to tag us into it.
Yeah. But, but one of the great things about Drive-Thru RPG, too, is you can put out something and you can put a pay-what-you-want sort of thing. So if you want to offer it for free, but you also want to try and make a little money, you can do both.
Yeah. I mean, during the pandemic, I ran role-playing events on Elder Scrolls Online. I even ran my own wedding with my guild leader and her boyfriend.
Sure.
It was like the Red Wedding, and it was like Game of Thrones, and there was a demon war, and all sorts of crap that happened. And,
Well, AOL chat rooms, that used to be pretty much nothing but role-playing.
Or Mush, I think that's what they're called, right? Yeah. Mush, like online, like D&D, like MMOs, people, online role-playing communities in the 90s, online, and the early 2000s.
Yeah, and there's Reddit forums out there that are just massive groups of people role-playing and all just kind of sharing a lore together.
This sounds awesome, and I wish more people got into it. Maybe the world would be more fantastic and magical if we gave into these kind of things,
Well, if you're out there and you're thinking about it, don't be afraid. Just do it.
Cool. Well, Dominic, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. Do you want to say anything to people who are first getting into role playing? Any words of advice you want to end this off on?
Yeah, just do it. Just get out there, and nobody's gonna think you're weird but you. So go ahead and do it.
And they remember, it's better to burn as a true brilliant person than be a freaking normie.
Exactly.